Okay, just the Monday morning review. Tell me, is it just as painful? Shed any light on where it went wrong, or and the general mood, please, in the camp.
Um, yeah, look, if I just go back after the game, I think there was huge disappointment. There was as much disappointment as I've seen in the changing room, no matter what environment I've been in. So that shows how much it sort of hurt the players. To their credit, they've turned up today in a good frame of mind. We did a deep dive this morning. Our reviews in the morning, amongst other things, usually take about an hour. Good couple of hours this morning, searching for a few answers and some accountability around the performances and how we can get better.
What are those? Are those because of the consequence of the result? Did the review have a different tone this morning? Because you're obviously out of that competition, but I guess you feel the performance wasn't good enough. Some discipline issues that you would have been very aware of the last few weeks. How did the tone change when you're trying to get a message across to a group of very disappointed players and staff, I guess?
Yeah, I think it's one of the big challenges as a coaching group, really, not just myself, but as a coaching group to navigate over the season and find different ways of previewing and reviewing. And you find yourself on this merry-go-round where you are going extremely hard at players. You go other weeks where you give them a big pat on the back around some stuff. Other days when you find a bit of a balance of both. Some days when you get them to reflect on their performances and feedback, like you're constantly looking at different ways of reviewing. There's always a danger that, when you are just erring on the negative side all the time, that you feel like you never can get anything right. So it is a little bit of a balancing act, but today was one of those days where we actually needed to do a deep dive. We needed some honesty, a bit of vulnerability, and we got there.
Part of the reason why everyone is so disappointed is because Munster is synonymous with the Champions Cup, and hand in hand with that goes how the Challenge Cup may be seen now as a lesser competition. Does it help maybe that you're kind of coming in fresh, that you would be able to enforce the idea that you can't afford to see this as a secondary or a consolation prize?
There's nobody in this building that's happy about receiving the consolation prize of having to go and play in the Challenge Cup. But we also understand that though we have a rich history in the Champions Cup, that history doesn't give us a rite of passage there. We've got to earn our right to be there. And there's been lots, I think, to be proud about around how our game is progressing, but ultimately it hasn't been good enough. And when you play against quality teams in a competition where you're playing the best in Europe, small things are the big things, and it's the accumulation of lots of small things that have really hurt us, I think, all season, but also in particular the last couple of weeks, because when the stakes rise, those little things are magnified, whereas if you win, sometimes it's a little easier to probably brush past some of those and convince yourself that you're a better team than you actually are. And one thing I think we've been pretty open and honest about right from the get-go, even when we were on a run of wins early on in the season, has been realistic around the performances and where we're actually at now. We haven't made the gains that we needed to get through the European Cup, but there's a long way to go.
I guess it's good that you have one match before the international break that you can maybe get some of it out of your system and really try to, go on the break on the back of a win and performance as well.
Yes, still 2 games, Dragons and Glasgow, and they're both going to be big challenges. Dragons are a team that have shown, I think, really good improvement since the start of the season, and I'm not too sure what sort of team we'll face against Glasgow, given that it's probably heading into the international period for them. But one of the standout teams, I think, from the URC side of things. So it doesn't get any easier. but it shouldn't. That's why we play at this level of the game.
Thanks for your time, Clayton.
Thank you.
How are you, Diarmuid? Michael here in RT Sport. How are you getting on?
Good. How are you, Mike?
Okay. Okay, maybe just give me the mood in the camp and what was the main conclusion from your meeting this morning about the weekend?
Look, it was bitterly disappointing. We're not where we wanted to be come the end of the weekend, and we have to take that in the chin. Loads to improve on, loads of tangible and manageable things to improve on, which can make it a little bit more frustrating. But yeah, we got to go after them now and really start to hone in what we're doing.
Can you give us a sense of what conclusion you came to about where the areas that you should have been better, that you expect better of yourself?
Look, discipline has been a common theme for us over the last few weeks. Some sloppy errors that we need to improve upon if we're going to look to go deep in any competition. Teams are too good now, and they'll punish you too much if you're ill-disciplined, and that's one of the few areas. But yeah, we've got to be better there.
When you mentioned that it has been an ongoing issue, do you have to change something big? Because I guess you would have been saying we have to be better at this each week on week, and if it's not coming out, is there a change of approach to make sure that can't happen again?
There doesn't have to be anything drastic. There has to be, I suppose, an individual responsibility and an acceptance of this is where we're at with it, but we've got to be better, and you have to look in the mirror and realize what it is you're doing to harm the team at times, and be better and be more switched on and not give away penalties that are avoidable. There's going to be penalties, but it's the avoidable ones that are very frustrating.
I guess part of the reason there's so much disappointment about this is because of Munster's relationship with that tournament, with the Champions Cup. How do you, and hand in hand goes with that Munster are not into the Challenge Cup because you should be in a different one. How do you feel about motivating yourselves when that challenge comes around? How would you approach that when you have to juggle the URC, which is just as important to you guys?
Yeah, there's look, that's coming in April, and that's a bit down the track, and we've a bit of stuff to sort out amongst ourselves first before any of that. We obviously have the Dragons this weekend, and they're on a bit of a vein of form, so we've got to be right on it there. But the beauty of this sport and what we do is that you get to try and put things right the next week. Usually, and we've an opportunity this week to go hammer and tongs at it and put out a better performance.
Super. Listen, Diarmuid, thanks for your time. Best of luck for the week.
Cheers.